Welcome to Inner Peace Better Health, where we uncover the truths that shape how we live and heal. I'm your host, Shreya, and today's guest, Gregory James Thelian, is an award winning Boudoir photographer and speaker whose mission goes far beyond the lens. Through his Transcend Boudoir Experience and his upcoming book, The Problem with Self Help, he helps people transform not just how they look, but how they see themselves. Tonight, we are diving deep into the power of self perception and how it can make or break our inner peace. So, welcome, Gregory. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be a part of this. A lot of your episodes have been truly influential to me, and I'm just so glad to be a part of this and help others. And, my main goal is really just to help people focus more on themselves.
Yes, thank you for your kind words. And, Gregory, what made you realize that self perception, not just a motivation, it's what's the missing key to transformation?
Yeah, I feel like that kind of like the big problem with self-help is that everyone focuses on the help. So they give you all the tools, they give you all these things that can help you. However, a lot of them don't focus on the self. And if you don't focus on the self first, none of those tips, none of those tricks are really going to help you out because they're not going to stick. I did so many different like self-help books and everything, and nothing stuck until I figured myself out first. Because once you go down that path and if something isn't working, then like you start beating yourself up, you start putting yourself down. But until you kind of have a strong grasp of like who you are at your core, that's what really changes everything.
Yes, and I think it's so fascinating how often we think motivation is enough when in reality the lens through which we see ourselves determines everything.
It's so true. And it's great that you use the lens that we look through, because that's exactly what I do as a photographer. So it's kind of like pun intended there. It's all about the lens that we see ourselves through. But it truly is. It's really how the individual sees themselves. Because so often we see ourselves based on how other people, like see us. So it's like essentially we're thinking of ourselves as a husband, a wife, a mother, a father. We define ourselves based off of these roles, but we're actually so much more than that. So once you're able to kind of like strip away like the identity of what you do for your job, what your actual, societal roles are, and really focus on who you are at your core, it just strengthens all those other things as well.
Was there a particular moment in your work that revealed this truth to you?
Yes. Okay. Sorry. I think you did ask that before and I kind of skipped it. I'm sorry. But
Okay, no.
yeah, so there was one really pivotal moment with a client of mine. So I do specify that, like the work that I do is pretty much specifically boudoir. Like I do, glamour photography as well. But what I learned with boudoir photography, it could really be empowering because you're truly seeing like yourself, like as bare as possible, as bare as you are comfortable with. I never force people to do anything they're not comfortable with. But I had this one client, and when she came in for her photo exhibition, because one of the things that I do for my clients is at the end of their experience, I set up an entire gallery for them to walk into. So they're not just seeing photos digitally on their computer, they're actually walking into a gallery of themselves. And doing it on that scale is what really makes it resonate with people and what really makes them connect with the images, because it's not just me taking pretty pictures of people, it's them actually seeing themselves, like seeing their true reflection. So I had this one client, Crystal, and she's looking at all of her portraits. And normally I record everybody's reaction when they see everything. And I just stopped recording her. And she started whispering something to herself. And I lean in closer. I'm like, what are you saying, Crystal? Like, what is that? And then she started saying, I'm worthy. So she's looking at her portraits and she realized her true worth, her true power. And she went through a lot of stuff growing up. I'm not going to go into my clients' past histories on this, but she went through a lot. So having that really changed a lot of things for her. And even moving forward past that experience. So it's like once she first saw what her true self really looks like, that really changed everything for her moving forward. So she got out of like the bad relationship that she was in. She's in a job that she's happy to be in now, and she's much more independent. And it's all because she realized her full worth. And I was just so honored that I was able to show her that through the work that I do and the experience that I created.
Yes, and I think it shows how clarity often comes when we expect the least of it.
This
And
is true.
yes, and how does photography, especially boudoir, become a tool for reshaping the self perception?
So I kind of have to dive back into my past with this question a little bit, because when I first heard about boudoir photography, well, when I started photography, I tried shooting like absolutely everything before I landed on boudoir. I didn't even think it was like a viable option. I didn't think it was something I could have a career off of. And once I started learning about boudoir, everyone was telling me like how empowering it is, how life-changing it could be. And at the time, I was just like, how is this changing people's lives? It's just photos. Like, I really didn't get it at the time. But like, I love the meaning behind it. So I'm like, okay, I could actually be creative and do something powerful with my work as well. And that was what I was really looking for at the time. And the more and more I did this, the more I did it for my clients. I've always had that goal in mind to kind of create that type of life-changing experience. And when I got into the industry, I learned that there's a lot of bad people out there. And there's a lot of people who aren't doing boudoir photography properly or professionally. So the first hurdle I always have to come over, with my clients is, yes, I am a male doing this, but no, I am not a creep. There are a lot of them out there. That is not why I do this. And, it's just getting your clients super comfortable. And I created a full 3-day experience for my clients specifically to have that long lasting impact. So there's a lot involved in the process that I do. I don't know if you want me to go through what that actually looks like, but the end result really is helping people see who they truly are on the inside. And once you see that for yourself, it's so enlightening and it's truly empowering. I hate using the word empowering because I feel like it gets overused, but you really do become more empowered when you have this crystal clear version of who you are. And so often our self-perception is truly distorted by all the trauma that we went through growing up, all the issues that we deal with in everyday life, the mundane lives sometimes we find ourselves caught in. So this type of photography really helps you break out of that comfort zone, and it really helps reshape how you see yourself.
Yes. And I think what I love about your approach is that the camera become less about vanity and more about vulnerability, and that's where the healing begins.
It is a 3-day experience that I create for my clients, but they're not consecutive days. This isn't like a retreat that people have to like take off of work in order to do this. I work with everyone's schedule and availability, but the very first day is actually like super important. This is a in-depth consultation that I do with my clients, and I run this exercise on them that I call the personality reveal. Okay. And what this is, it's a lot of my clients say it's like a therapy session. Okay. I am not a licensed therapist at all, but this process truly has been therapeutic for my clients. And it's nothing crazy. It's just like a set series of questions and prompts that I guide my clients through, but it's specifically designed to get to the core of who you are and even go deeper than that to help you uncover the essence of what truly makes you you. And the great thing about this is not like a Myers-Briggs type of test where you answer all these questions and then I tell you exactly who you are. These are all like introspection questions that I'm guiding my clients through. So it's them telling themselves who they really are. And once we're done with that process, I truly have a firm understanding of who they are. So now I know what to capture, for their photo shoot. So that's the other reason why I do it this way, because it really gives me all the information that I need to help them see themselves the way that they know they are inside. So on this day one, we're really helping them connect with like that inner voice, like that voice that's just like deep down begging to come out. So immediately after this first day, a lot of my clients start feeling a lot better about themselves, and we're just getting started. So day 2 is the actual portrait session. And this is really just a massive play day for my clients. I only book one client a day. So there's like no pressure. There's no rush. And we just work towards capturing everything it was that we uncovered in day 1. And you get full hair, makeup, all that experience, it's all thrown in there. And it's just such a fun play day. Day 3, though, is what I already kind of touched on a little bit. This is the private photo exhibition. So this is where, it takes a week or 2 after their portrait session, and I personally edit, retouch, print, matte, and frame the absolute best prints from their session. And we set it up into this giant gallery that they get to walk into, and everyone's jaw just drops. When you see yourself firsthand like that, especially when you see like a massive, like 24 by 36 print of yourself, you can't help but fall in love with yourself all over again. So that's what the experience looks like. That's what I put together for my clients. And I did it this way specifically to create that kind of like change in self-perception consistently with each and every client. So it's not just like a fluke. It's not a one-off. There's actual kind of like neuroscience and, like CBT training, cognitive behavioral therapy kind of like infused into this experience. And I've kind of only learned that recently after looking back about like, why is this so successful with my clients? And then I learned it's like, oh, we're doing reframing, we're hitting mirror neurons, we're hitting like all these other little things, and it's just fantastic. So it's really a process that's truly unique to me because I spent a decade creating it this way.
And this is wonderful. And I think the experience you just give to your clients, this is really, really amazing.
Thank
And
you.
let's talk about your upcoming book. Your upcoming book challenges the self help industry. What do you
Yeah.
think most self help advice gets wrong?
So I already opened up with this essentially. I was just saying that they focus on the help and not the self. Okay. And I see this all the time, and it kind of drives me a little crazy because I've always been trying to improve myself just so I could be better for everyone else. And all these self-help books just give you like tips and tricks. And normally it's like an entire like 200-page book just telling you to like not give an F, or, let other people be, or, like, here's how to like start implementing habits into your everyday life. And they're all good advice. None of it is bad. It's just none of it is really going to stick unless you have a firm understanding of who you are. And I kind of equate self-perception to kind of like those connect the dot drawings that we used to do as kids, where it's like you're going from like number 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 and so on and so forth. And then like at the end, you like drew a dolphin or something like that. But what we do with ourselves as we grow old is we're trying to connect all the dots to figure out who we are. How does it shape us? And what I found is a lot of the times, we're connecting dots that never should have been connected in the first place because of abuse, because of just self-doubt, because of low self-esteem. So we connect all these dots and none of it really lines up. And then we're like, who are we? Because we have this horrible picture of ourselves that isn't true to who we really are. So this experience that I created really helps people kind of like rearrange those dots. And I feel like not enough people are doing that. Like not enough people are helping people like figure out who they really are and ask those meaningful questions. And it's really just having people be more introspective about themselves, And the self-help industry is just like, here's the next new shiny thing. And it's cool, it's fun, it's exciting, but I feel like it does a disservice to everybody who's reading it and trying to implement it.
Yes, I think that's such a refreshing take to this. And how does shifting self perception give people results where positive thinking falls short?
Yeah, because like, here's the thing. So when it comes to positive thinking, especially like affirmations, you feel like you're lying to yourself after a while. At least this is what happened to me. I know because I asked several people like if this happened to them too, and it did. But it's like if you're staring in the mirror and you keep trying to say to yourself, I'm beautiful, I'm handsome, I'm sexy, like anything, it starts feeling like a lie. So I created a way to kind of make affirmations stick a little bit better. And I call this active affirmations. Okay. So what you do is you essentially say the affirmation you want to believe in your heart and soul. So, it could just be, like I'm a good parent, or, I am beautiful, like something simple like that. But then what you do is you back it up. So then the next part is to back it up with something that actually proves that it's true in your life. So if we're using the example of staring in the mirror and saying, I am beautiful, you could back it up with something like, yeah, and Frank from work just complimented me on my dress and my outfit and everything. So yeah, I must be beautiful. And when you start doing that, when you pair up the affirmation with actual proof, then it sticks, then it hits home. And I feel like that's just kind of like a better way of doing it.
Yes, and I think flips the script. It's less about adding more and more about seeing yourself very differently.
Yeah, because just saying it to yourself, it's not going to stick. And this is where my experience and the whole photography comes into play, because you're getting actual physical evidence of what you feel inside. So that voice inside that's like begging to come out for people, once you could physically see that, it just changes everything. It really changes everything for people because now they feel it. And once you start feeling it, you hang on to that feeling much longer. And having actual photographic prints, you just look at these whenever you're feeling down on yourself and it just sticks.
Yes. What do you hope people take away from your work, whether it's a photo session or your book?
hmm I just hope that they treat themselves nicer and that they realize the true strength that's inside each and every one of us. Okay. Mainly them. Okay. This is a very individual experience for my clients. And, especially when I actually do release this book, I just want people to realize that all this negative self-talk, all this trauma that they've been through, all the bad things that they've been saying about themselves is really not true. It's just like it is a part of you, but it doesn't define you. So it's really getting back in touch with that inner voice and really making that shine more than anything else. That's what I hope to accomplish through everything that I've been doing.
Yes, I think that vision really stretches beyond individuals. It challenges us to create communities where worth isn't conditional. And also for people who have faced abuse, shame, or low confidence, how can they begin to reclaim their worth?
So the best thing that you could do for yourself, like right away, is start getting introspective. Start asking yourself these deep, meaningful questions and start figuring out who that voice inside of you like really is. What do they look like? And start finding ways on bringing that out more and more and more in your day to day life.
Yes, I think that's so hopeful. And do you think society as a whole needs a shift in how we talk about self image and self worth?
It does, because right now it's horrible. However, being realistic, I don't think it's going to shift. I really don't think it is. It's so ingrained in our culture to compare ourselves to others and to have this kind of like high standard of beauty, which is pretty unattainable. And it's a shame, but I really don't see that going away anytime soon, even if massive communities banded together. I mean, like there have been some shifts, in the industry, but the best thing that people could do is kind of just focus on themselves first, get yourself together, and then start spreading that outward. And I think the more and more we do that, it's just going to take a long time. It's just going to take a really long time, but it is possible, and it's tough. It's not easy, and I'm not here to claim that all this work is simple and easy. And I'm not here to even say like, okay, once you start asking yourself like, who am I outside of all my roles and titles? Like that's going to solve everything for you. It's going to help open the door for you, but there's still a lot more work that needs to be done. And it needs to be done on the individual level because it's so easy to get lost in the midst of everything else going around. So yeah, I'm hopeful, that it will change, but I'm not very optimistic about it, sadly. I wish I could be, but I'm just realistic about things and how society has been through all the years I've been alive and everything leading up in the past. So yeah, sorry. I wish I was, I wish that was like a more hopeful answer.
No, no, this is true. I agree with you totally.
Yeah,
And I think your work shows us that true transformation begins not in appearance but in perception. And
it
we are
really
really
is.
grateful for the reminder that how we see ourselves shapes our inner peace. And if after this beautiful conversation, my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the
Mhm.
best way?
So the best way to connect with me is straight through Instagram. I'm at gregoryjames.photo and you can hit me up on there, DM me on there. I respond to everything personally. And you could also just check out my work at gregorymjamesphotography.com. And if any of this kind of resonated with anybody listening, I really just want you all to kind of like ask yourself, who am I outside of my work, my roles, my titles, and just kind of like think about it for a while. You know, don't rush to answer it. Let the question hang, let it echo inside of you. Because sometimes, like the most powerful shifts in our self perception don't come from direct answers. They come from finally kind of asking the right questions. So just try to start asking yourself those right questions as soon as you can.
Yes, and I will definitely make sure to attach all these details and links below so that the listeners can find them easily and get in touch with you. To all my listeners, this conversation with Gregory James Thelian reminds us that peace and health don't come from quick fixes or endless self help. It comes from transforming how we see ourselves at the core. If you have been chasing change and still feel stuck, maybe it's the time to put down the checklist and pick up a new lens. Because when you change how you see yourself, everything else begins to change too. Thank you.